Yu-Gi-Oh! Protagonists. These awesome, iconic anime characters have graced our television screens, our products, our yaoi fan art. Just trust me on that last one. You don't need to know more. But there is one thing that makes them, above all else, important. And that is their weapons of choice. And no, I'm not talking about that gun Saku would probably bring to school one day. And no, I'm not talking about Yusei's prison shank. I am talking about their decks. Those 40 pieces of cardboard that they use to achieve card game greatness. That we, in the real world, have innovated and brought to tournaments, and chances are wound up at table 500. But yeah, these are some of the most iconic aspects of the game, and today we are here to rank them. Which was a little bit harder than I thought, because I think overall, all the decks do what they're supposed to. So we're essentially just talking about which of these, like, big marketing tools were used better than others, and made us stop believing they were marketing tools. You will probably disagree with my picks, and as always, that's fine. That's what the comment section is for. Without further ado, let's get started. Starting off the list, we have one of the most infamous pack filler archetypes of all time, and that being Yuya and his performer pals. Yay! So I should probably say this right off the bat. When these things were first revealed, I was kind of excited to see he wouldn't just be playing like warriors and dragons and spellcasters and mechs, but they just kind of dropped the ball almost immediately. Aesthetically, these things don't really follow a theme after a certain point. They just end up being busy and ugly looking. Their effects are not memorable, and he just half the time uses dozens of them once. Like, even the, like, really popular ones in real life. Monkey Board, Pendulum Sorcerer, Lizard Draw. Used once, and then never again. Why? Because here's a bunch more of them he's going to use, and you will hate every last one of them. This is one of the most hated archetypes in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! And it doesn't help the fact that Odd Eyes looks like a weird mutant ugly chicken thing. Now, some might say this is a little unfair, because Yuga and his spellcasters are the current deck, but I kind of feel like we won't be talking about these much in a few years. And look, I like the look of these things, but, well, in a format where everything is just designed to be tribute fodder and he just vomits monsters out like it's nobody's business, it's kind of hard for a lot of them to stand out. Yeah, Seven's Road's Magician is cool, and the girl one is hot, and I like their look, but that's kind of it. Like, none of his other monsters are memorable. Half of them only ever show up once. And, well, that's kind of just all there is to it. It's simplified to the point where I just don't overly care about any of them. Saku's Cybursts are kind of tricky. On the one hand, I like them aesthetically. You look at these things and you know exactly what they are. They are clearly meant to be weird computer creatures, and I think that's conveyed perfectly fine. I also like that a bunch of them do contribute to a logical strategy, and that is just link spam. Where this one really loses points for me is two things. One, I hate just how many of them they end up making. And also, two, because he just gets a new boss monster whenever he just fucking wants, it makes everything else feel irrelevant. I don't feel like he's really strategizing or thinking or doing anything smart, because he's just gonna get something new whenever he feels like it, and, well, that devalues him getting something new. Because they draw attention to it, you're just kind of like, oh, so he's not that good because he just gets something new whenever he fucking wants. So, like, yeah, I just don't really feel that excited for anything he plays, because it just doesn't matter in the end. So I should probably explain why the three most recent protagonists are the bottom three on the list. Now, many may say because since they're newer, we haven't had as much time to get used to them. Maybe that's true, but I think a bigger part of it is, starting with Yuya, there was just this need to give them just a million fucking forgettable cards. And yes, it happened with the other 4, but now it just felt more frequent. He would just get new monsters every episode, and it was just for the sake of pack filler and starter decks nobody gave a rat's ass about. And well, it devalued the idea of him getting new cards. I wasn't thinking, here's something new in our hero's arsenal. I was just like, oh, here's more shit that I'm gonna just curse about when I'm stuck with 20 of them from pulling them in boxes. Like, it really makes it no fun, and it devalues the idea of protagonist cards to me. How does one rank the deck of the great Yugioh? You look at it for more than like 5 seconds. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Yugi's deck. So many cool, iconic cards in this game. There's a reason it propelled the game to popularity. But when you really take a few minutes to look at it, there is just, once again, a ton of cards you don't care about. And even a lot of the cool ones, when you look them up and you actually see how they were used, not really effective and pretty lame, actually. So yeah, while there are a lot of awesome Yugi cards I love, he kind of works really as the middle of the list, kind of in between what I like and don't like. So yeah. Okay, so number 3 and number 2 are a little interchangeable for me. Ask me who's number 2 tomorrow and it might be different. But right now, I kind of got to put Yusei at 3. Having said that, holy shit, Yusei's deck is cool. Like, yes, it's very similar to Jaiden's, which is part of the reason it loses a couple points. But aesthetically, this thing is so cool. The sort of like cyberpunk muscle car, warrior machine things. It's so awesome. Like, think of all those iconic scenes of him running along on the D-wheel with the just monsters behind him racing along with him. So fucking badass. Also, the idea that these were cards he found. It's not like Saku where he just gets it during the duel to save his butt. No, these are cards he had to scour for, look around for, and figure out how to make them in for a deck from there. It makes it so much more interesting and makes Yusei so much more intelligent and therefore cooler. The deck loses a little points because I felt like towards the end it became a little bit too much of the Stardust Dragon show, and I felt like I was missing seeing more of the interesting synchros and other things, whereas at least with Yuma and Yuya, the decks did that from the beginning, so it's not as annoying. But I mean, look, hey, Stardust is my favorite of the boss monsters, so can I really complain that much? Yeah, I know I'm the Zale fanboy, but let me explain why Yuma's deck is number 2. The main reason this is here, while it may not be as cool looking as Yusei's deck, is that I feel like Yuma's does the best job of being part of the story. When you first see it, it's random, it's all over the place. Even by previous protagonist standards, it's just kind of a mess with these weird sounding cards that barely fit together. But as the story progresses, you can literally watch each part as he grows and matures. The deck becomes more consistent. It evolves into a strategy. And by the end of it, it's a genuinely fun, cool deck that I liked watching. This is very much intentional and by design. I can forgive random cards because the story has now justified the need for them within the narrative and as a symbol for Yuma's growth as a character. This to me trumps aesthetics or even effects because this is the point of using it in a story, and that is, well, to tell the story. Something that I wish the newer decks would kind of do a little bit better. So since there's only one left, you know who it's gotta be. And many of you may be thinking, of course the hero fan puts heroes at number 1. And some of you may be thinking, why would the GX hater put Jaden at number 1? Well, the truth is that I can put all biases and opinions towards either argument aside for the fact that this is the most iconic archetype and one of the best used decks in the anime. It may not have as good a story presence as Yuma's, or even as aesthetically cool as Yusei's, but if you're looking for the full package, it's here. The minute GX starts, the duels feel different. They feel more intelligent, more strategy-based. Decks feel more like they work with each other. And I think a big part of it is just the fact that when you start GX, this is what you see. You see cards whose names say, use them together. You see them being used for strategies, for fusing, for greater things than just like summon and attack. All of these things made Heroes stand out and made all of us really realize that we were going to enter the age of archetypes, for better or for worse. But I just think everything about it is iconic and memorable, and it's such just a big jump from what we were used to before that. On top of that, the heroes are just so iconic, even in the real game. Rather you're talking about Stratos or Dark Law, or even the newer ones like Sunriser and the extra heroes. This is an archetype that truly is Yu-Gi-Oh's archetype. It is always relevant, they're always making new cards, and it's just always going to be in the game zeitgeist. And I think that is because it's just so well done in that original anime. Rather it's the way it's used in the beginning, to adding the Neo stuff, to adding the evil hero stuff. Heroes is the most iconic deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! And it is used, in my opinion, about as perfect as a deck can be overall. But what did you think? Do you agree with this list? Probably not. But you can tell me in the comments section below, what did you agree with? What did you disagree with? How would you rate the decks? Why? All that good stuff. And as always, click to like, click to subscribe, and join me in the future for more Yu-Gi-Oh! Fun.